Hello everybody, Aidan from Encouraging Chiropractic. Carpe occasionem, seeing opportunity as the divine. So, I sometimes wonder whether we miss the very things that are placed directly in front of us. Not because they're not there, but because we don't recognise them for what they are. And I've been thinking about this idea of the divine. Now, before anyone switches off, just let me be clear that when I say divine, I don't necessarily mean God in a religious sense. I don't necessarily mean angels, miracles, or even mysticism. I mean something subtler than that, something quieter than that. Is it God, fate, chance, or is it simply an opportunity? And I have to say, I don't know, and I'm actually quite comfortable with not knowing. Having said that, what I do know is this, that opportunities appear all the time in our lives, and whether we see them or not depends very much on how receptive or perceptive we are. There's a popular idea that gets wrapped up in mysticism, the secret manifestation, positive thinking. And I think sometimes people tend to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because fundamentally, when you strip away the glitter and the slogans, what's actually being said is quite simple. If you look for opportunities, you're more likely to see them. And if you see them, you're more likely to act on them. And if you act on them with a positive mindset, things will change. Now, you can call that manifestation if you like. You can even call it psychology or neurobiology, or you can call it divine movement. Frankly, the label doesn't matter nearly as much as your behaviour. And here's where I think we've started to struggle as a modern society. We've become, understandably, more secular, more evidence-based, more cautious. And again, let me be very clear. I am not anti-science. I'm a clinician. I value evidence. I read it. I even teach it. But I do worry that we are drifting, or we've drifted into a place where we say, if there isn't a randomised controlled trial, then we can't move. And that's, of course, a dangerous place to stand. Because if that were true, then nothing new would ever begin. Let me see if I can give you an example. We can say quite confidently that chiropractic care is effective for low back pain. Why? Well, because there are randomised controlled trials showing exactly that. Brilliant! But what happens when you're working with a group of people or individuals for whom no one has done the trial yet? What if I'm working with, as I do, someone who's had an amputation, or 2, or 3, or 4? What if I'm working with someone whose presentation, although real, doesn't fit neatly into a study design? There isn't a paper for everything. So what do we do then? Do we say, well, sorry, Mr. Amputee or Mrs. Amputee, there's no evidence, so we can't try? Or do we say, based on physiology, my experience, reasoning and care, that's how I go, trial period, and see what happens. Because somebody has to take that first step. Somebody always does. Every field of knowledge that you respect today exists because someone at some point in the past acted before the evidence was complete. So here's the distinction that, in my opinion, often gets missed. Being scientific does not mean being paralyzed. Science is a process of observation, curiosity, testing, refinement, and going again. It's not a belief system designed to prevent action, and yet sometimes we use it that way. We say, show me the proof before I move. But we know that life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes the proof comes after the courage to do that thing. And this is where opportunity starts to feel, well, divine. Because opportunities rarely arrive with a certificate of authenticity. They very often don't come with a peer-reviewed paper attached. They don't knock on the door, bop, 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 and say, hello, I'm safe, validated, and guaranteed. They tend to whisper, they're quiet, and they're fleeting. So if you're not listening or observant, they pass straight by. Each of us experiences the world through a completely unique lens. Your experiences, your patience, your relationships, your failures, your successes, your life. And there's no randomised controlled trial that can fully account for that, which is why you need clinical reasoning, intuition, and professional courage. And these things still matter. Now, of course, you shouldn't be reckless. We're not going to be chasing ego, but you do need to have thoughtful, compassionate action. And I think when we lose our sense of the divine, however you choose to define it, we risk losing our willingness to step forward into uncertainty. And uncertainty is where your and the profession's growth lives. If you believe there is meaning in the world, then you're more likely to notice patterns. If you believe there's purpose, you're more likely to take responsibility. And if you believe that opportunities matter, you're more likely to act when they appear. And the fascinating thing is this. Once you start seeing opportunities, you see more of them. Not because the world has changed, because you have. The Latin phrase carpe diem, seize the day, is well known. But remember this phrase, carpe occasionum, seize the opportunity. Not tomorrow, not once it's proven safe, not even once everyone else has done it. Do it when it is in front of you. That does not mean abandoning science. It does not mean abandoning reason, and it certainly doesn't mean abandoning ethics. It means recognizing that progress requires movement, that somebody had or has to go first, that curiosity is not a flaw, and that opportunity, however you define it, might be the divine tapping you on the shoulder quietly and waiting to see if you will notice. So maybe the question isn't, is this proven? Maybe, just maybe the question is this thoughtful? Is this compassionate? Is this grounded in what I know and what I'm willing to learn? Because if it is, then maybe, just maybe, that opportunity is there for a reason. So, carpe occasionem. Seize the opportunity and see what unfolds. I've been Aidan from Encouraging Chiropractic. If you like this video, please don't hesitate to leave a comment, share, subscribe, do all the good stuff to help me grow my channel as I try and help people like you navigate both the clinical, the professional, and the private worlds that we all live in. Bye-bye.